Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Evil Within. No upgrades, no keys, Akumu difficulty. So I did a little differently then, don't know why. This is part 2 of chapter 6. And this is a fantastic example of what's going to be happening throughout this entire game. You're going to do a very difficult part, and the ammo that you take into the part afterwards is going to be much lesser than you wish you had, because the part afterwards is difficult as well. And this is probably the first instance of that, where those last rooms were horrendous. We used a ton of ammo. There's no real way we could have done it any better unless we had balls of steel and, no nerves. And yet we're coming into this moment which is very challenging as well in its own regard, with nowhere near the resources we wish we had. And when I first got here, I found this part very difficult. What I can say now, coming off of this recording, this part is nowhere near as difficult for me as the other part, because I understand it now, and I understand it by being stuck here for about an hour. And I was stuck here for about an hour the first time I played as well. If you're wondering what I did to prepare myself for this walkthrough, my first playthrough, my blind one, was on Survivor with no upgrades, and Survivor mode looks pretty simple when you see people play it with upgrades, but I can guarantee if you try it without them, like if you want a test run, it's actually really tough in places, because you don't have the resources you normally would have, and it becomes very difficult. But this sequence here, I learnt a lot from it. The first thing I learned is stealthing these enemies is really easy to do if you know what you're doing, and compared to that previous level, or that previous part, sorry, this is going to feel like a breath of fresh air, because there's room to move, you don't die instantly, and anything's better than that last room. That's the thing that should be keeping you going. So what I'm doing here is I'm kicking the door and banging it to lure them out. And what will happen is they'll open the door, they'll explore, and then they'll go back. And when they start going back, we're going to go and stab them in the brain. And that's what we do. We divide and conquer, we stab them in the brain. Once we've killed all the people on this left-hand side, the person, if we go up at the top of the stairs, it's going to give us a checkpoint. And from that point onwards, there's going to be a very strict but doable sniping section. And I need to explain it. So once you shoot one of the 4 Gatling gun people in the boxes that we have to shoot before the level ends, or before the sequence ends I should say, it's going to generate an infinite spawn. Do you know how I know that it's infinite? It's not because there's a lot of them, it's because I've stood on top of a roof and fucked them up until they never stopped coming. I used all my ammunition, I got to the point where I was kicking them off ladders and running around the map. They never stop coming, guys. Before that point, you can kill everybody in this area and nobody will come. You can murder every single person here. As long as you don't kill any of the turrets, everyone will be gone. But there is no point in doing that because it takes way too much ammunition, and as soon as you hit the first of those boxes, more dudes will come. So you essentially achieve nothing. So the way I ended up doing it my first playthrough, which carried on into this one after I'd finished experimenting and I learnt about the spawns, is I'm going to show you a path. I'm actually going to waste 2 explosive bolts, which I don't recommend doing. It's just because I'd done this a few times and I was experimenting, and the experimentation one was the one where I was successful. So there's the crossfade into the checkpoint. As soon as you load back in, stand over here. I'm going to put my crossbow on, because this actually works, but I don't recommend it because it's a waste. What I was testing is if I could blow the boxes off the reels. So you'll notice I fire this on the side of it to see if I can get rid of the box. I think it'd be really interesting if we could completely get rid of the box without having to shoot the guy on the gun, but I don't think you can. So the pattern is as follows. Come down here, shoot him, don't get skewered, which can be random. Now we need to run back up here. There's going to be a bunch of guys chasing us from behind, so if you want to pull your shotgun out and knock them off on this point, if you shoot them near the edge of this bridge, they will fall off without you needing to kill them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Joseph's got that, so we're going to run up here. I'm going to shoot this bomb with my pistol, and then I'm going to go just outside that doorway after this guy turns up and put him down. I'm going to put my sniper rifle on here, and the next one's going to open. Shoot him in the face. Don't run or you'll get skewered. Here comes a fat guy. And at this point we don't need to kill any more people, we're just going to kite them, and we're going to hopefully not get punched when we shoot this next dude. The only stipulation here, if any of the haunted follow you down to where the chainsaw sadist turns up, they will be there after he turns up. So you don't really want that, although you still have your checkpoint, and that's what's important. So hit this guy and jump off the ladder. Jump down here quickly. Quickly, dickhead. There you go. Run through here, and if good old Joseph will stay alive, we'll get a checkpoint. Come on, checkpoint. Come on. Come on. There you go. That checkpoint despawns every single enemy outside of this main courtyard, and then you have to fight this guy. So the Chainsaw Sadist is pretty easy to kite, actually. This area is going to teach you how to kite him. But bear in mind, he swings a lot, and he covers some distance with his swings, so be very careful, because he'd kill you in one hit anyway, and this difficulty is just gravy for him. So I shoot him a few times in the face. The barrel didn't really do too much for us, which is a bit of a shame. We've now got a couple of harpoons, so I'll kite him a little bit, try and hit him in the face with the harpoon once he's finished. Come on, dickhead, what are you doing? There, stops, harpoon. And I missed. So, something I need to explain, folks. Just because this is the hardest difficulty and this is an upgrade run, does not mean you're going to be seeing scientifically perfect strategies on every fight. This is my second playthrough of the game. What you're seeing is what worked. I didn't overthink it, I just had fun, and, you know, I came up with strategies that got me through that didn't need, you know, any real particular things. Occasionally I got something really interesting and really good, but for the most, I guarantee in a month there will be strategies better than most of the ones I give you. For certain areas. Other areas, I think mine are brilliant. But for the most, you're going to see a lot of experimentation, you're going to see the rewards of a lot of experimentation. So if you're coming to this expecting this to be perfect play, guys, it's just silly, really, because how can it be perfect play when the game hasn't been out a week? You know what I mean? You know, just take it easy on your judgments. This is incredibly challenging, and this is just my method through it. Your method will probably be different, and I appreciate that me saying this is pointless. I'm still going to get the same kind of comments you always get on YouTube, but what can you do? So, that generator opens up two levers over here. The lever on the left will open up a treasure trove. The lever on the right, I believe, opens up a bunch of bad guys. I've sped this up because you don't need to see it. Just don't get hurt by a trap, because if you do, you'll have to fight the sadist again. And then once you're through here, we can go back up the stairs, and we can trigger a checkpoint, and we can use the light of the moon doorway to save and shop and upgrade and all that good stuff, should we choose to do that. I'm going to heal Joseph just in case. And then the rest of this level is pretty simple once you know what you're doing. The next challenging part, I think, is the Sentinel boss fight, I think it's called, which is the crazy wolf with two jaws. Spoiler alert. So, the boss fight is weird, because on Survivor mode, I came up with a strategy which a lot of people probably did as well, where when he runs at you out of the bushes, if you wait until he's close and you shoot him in the face with a shotgun, he falls over. However, the shot is kind of tight, and it was tight on Survivor, but it seems to be even tighter on Akumu. And I was stuck on this boss for about an hour, and I really didn't think I would be, because I knew exactly how to win, I just couldn't do it. And what was happening is, I was waiting for the boss to get to me, I was shooting it with a shotgun, and it wasn't going down, it was just instantly killing me, and it instantly killed me about 50 times. It was hilariously bad. So I tried freezing it, and then shooting it, which didn't work. I tried stunning it, which did actually work, but not as good as it could have done if I'd have done it differently. I tried laying traps for it, which didn't work. I tried shooting it with a rifle in the head, and it didn't work. It was getting a little bit annoying, so I just kind of had one of those moments where it wasn't working, so I needed to do something different. So I put my back against a wall on the far side of the arena. I didn't think it would do much, but the boss has this tendency to swerve towards you. It kind of curves like a swing ball. A spin ball, sorry, not a swing ball. What am I? Well, I suppose that works too. Essentially, he does an arcing strike sometimes, so it can be difficult to get him lined up perfectly. And when I put my back against the wall, he straightened up when he came towards me, and it made it so that when I waited for him and took the shot, I put him down. And I was like, okay, maybe this will work. So inevitably he killed me because I didn't know what to do then, but I reloaded, and I did it, and it worked. And from that point onwards, I knew I had a strategy, and I'm hoping You know, for the people who, like me, just couldn't seem to get the timing or the hit detection or the randomness on the spray to work, that this works perfectly for you. And you can kill the Sentinel when you're looking for Joseph's glasses, but you'll not see me doing it on this difficulty because it's a waste of ammo. I shot a... No, I tell a lie. I punched it with the brass knuckles a few times and it died.
I'm fine.
On my Survivor playthrough post this recording. So after you've shot the 2 people, taking him to the guillotine, which for some reason gives me massive Resident Evil 4 vibes, Joseph is going to put this plank down for us, and we need to go across. And what's going to happen here is kind of misleading. It's going to make it seem like there's this super intense onslaught of enemies, but it really isn't, and you can control this fight really easily.
You should have just let them.
So Joseph's having a bit of a crisis here, but I'm going to skip it because it's trash. And I say trash, not that it's bad, just that it's not really needed for this walkthrough. So there's your checkpoint. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run back towards the way the game made me run away from, and I'm going to guard the bridge. My stun grenade's going to work perfectly on those enemies, and we're going to set them on fire with a match. That worked perfectly, and then we're going to sit on here, and if anybody gets close, we're going to try and shoot them on the bridge, and they're going to fall off the bridge. No, they're not, because this game's a lie. So that didn't go so well, but don't worry, don't fret. Are we going to wait for the shotgun? I suppose we're going to waste a shotgun blast. That seems a bit silly of me, but what can I say, guys? I wasn't a very good player at this point, but I will get better. Oh, that's perfect. And then the detection was shit. You see that bullshit? Terrible detection. The guy starts getting up. I nearly missed the match. So do not shoot these. Do not waste any ammo. You don't need to, and they can't hit you. This is a timed sequence. I didn't realise. I thought you had to kill them. So do not even bother here. This is completely unnecessary. Just wish I knew that at the time. There you go. And then once you get through here, the sequence is over and we get to do some exploring and a nice little change of pace. So I do apologise if you can hear this glass when I drink. It has a strange shape, which means that when I put it down after I've took a sip, the liquid in it splashes because it's all like fucking curvy and stupid. My throat is really bad. And it sucks because I've already had that bug and I don't want it again. And I know who's getting me, it's my fucking dad, because I could hear him last night sounding like he had gravel down his throat. But onwards and upwards is what I like to say in my live playthroughs, and it's just as fitting here as we move into the... I believe is it the Catacombs of the Church? No, the Catacombs of the Church is chapter 7 because it leads to the Keeper. We're going to move through this area just to the graveyard of the church.
This looks like some kind of a market.
So coming up there is a... It's not a boss fight technically, but it's the twins that you read about who were experimented on. And they've become these giant oafish creatures. You don't have to shoot a bullet, I don't think, to kill them. But it's going to take a long time if you don't. It's entirely up to you. If I wasn't making a walkthrough, I would not use a single round of ammunition or item against them. I would just let Joseph shoot them. But just for brevity's sake, and because I feel like it's my task to do something on every part of the game if I can, I'm going to speed it up a little bit. And there's going to be a similar moment coming up on the double keeper fight. Because believe it or not, I got myself in a really bad situation where I didn't have any bullets to kill him, and he wouldn't drop any traps, and I thought the game was bugging out. I thought it was actually glitching on me. But what it turned out to be is the 2 traps that he'd laid really close to an area I don't go because it's dangerous, he'd actually laid 3 sets of traps on top of that area. So it ended up saving me in the end. But at the time I just thought it wasn't working, my strategy, which my strategy works perfectly. It's just every so often there are hitches because it's dependent on luck and AI. And AI is capricious at best and cannot be controlled sometimes. But the situation I got into was I was using the trap mechanism to seal the doorway to keep the keeper in one of the rooms and exploit his AI, because there's a trap in that room that's bouncing around and it does damage to him, but I don't think it does a lot of damage to him at all. And after doing it for 40 minutes, that's right guys, 40 minutes of pulling a lever twice and keeping him in one room, he was still alive, and I went to pull the lever again and he stopped moving. He stood there, and I stood there, and we stared at each other for about 20 minutes. And I don't know what happened. It's almost as if he was already dead, but he didn't know it yet. You're going to see all of this. It was crazy. And because I'd killed one of them, and it were a really good run up to that point, I didn't want to risk him moving, so I didn't move. So I waited for 40 minutes, believe it or not. You're not going to see this. I'm going to trim it, you know, sophisticatedly and explain the story again. But anyway, he still didn't move. The trap hit him about 40 times and he was still alive. And I'm like, this is bullshit. What am I doing? I'm going to have to go and punch him. So I crouched and I walked through the corridor that leads to where he was. And I got to the traps. So I started picking the traps up so I could make a bolt and finish him off. And that's when I realised he'd laid a dozen traps. So I ended up having 2 explosive bolts. And when I crept back to where I was, he was still stood there, not moving. And I shot him with an explosive bolt and he died. And the moral of that fight is, it's so random and luck-based that if they'd have done what they were meant to do, which is me kiting them into that one room and dropping traps on my side so I can pick up the parts and shoot them on the other side, I would have killed them much quicker. But because of randomness and bullshit, I didn't. But I'm glad I got that on film, and I'm glad I get to share that, because not only can you get a strategy that will work if the keepers are being generous, and even if it doesn't work, you can see what can sometimes happen. So it should be an interesting video nonetheless. But the good news about that fight is, if you get that loop correctly, you do not need a single bullet to kill those keepers, because they will give you the ammunition you need. They are spammy bitches, and they chuck those mines everywhere, so they give you all the ammunition you'll ever need. And as soon as you kill one of them, kiting a single keeper in those 2 rooms is not that difficult at all. It really isn't. But this is the graveyard, and we're coming up on the end of the video. This is going to be a 3-part chapter because it's quite long, and the boss I spoke about is going to be in the 3rd part. And also the twins, it would seem. But here's another episode with Joseph, which I'm going to skip.
I'm counting on you.
And then at this point, we're in this little room. You can hear the notes of Debussy there, which tells us there's a save room. And I really like the fact... I said save room then, that's completely wrong. It's a safe room, sorry. No, what? I just said a... Oh, that was weird. It's not a safe room at all, it's got nothing to do with safes. You know, the lockers could be misconstrued as safes, but it's a save room. Why did I correct myself? Wow. Insanity, boys. That's what it does to you. But as soon as you get out of here, he's going to... I'm looking for things right now. I'm looking for the statues for the keys. There are a lot of lockers in that room, and I've only found about 20 keys on my playthrough, which tells me I'm not very good at finding keys, and that, you know, the people who made this game are pretty good at hiding them. Because I just couldn't find any, I guess. Maybe there's some trick, I don't know. We'll soon find out, but thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.